I don't really want to give myself credit for predicting that someone would lash out against my speaking ill of the new Sonic games in yesterday's video, mostly because predicting that would happen is kind of like predicting that someone is going to die today. You will inevitably be right, but will you really feel accomplished for doing so? I'm not going to provide you all with an accompanying comment time or name any usernames, because you and I both know that'll just start an argument that neither of us could possibly win. He couldn't possibly win because he's obviously wrong, and I couldn't possibly win because I'd be incapable of making him believe he was wrong. All I'm going to say is that I think the key to this and all similar debates is the difference between liking something and something actually being good. All of you are perfectly entitled to like the new Sonic games because opinions are just that, opinions. And I have played the newer Sonic games, mostly because I was curious, so I do know what they're like. I tend to try things out before forming an opinion on them. I give you Exhibit A, but this is another video entirely. On the upside, I got something new to throw. Good afternoon, butt kickers. It's June 24, the 175th day of 2011, which means that 54 years ago today, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that obscenity is not protected by the Constitution in the case Roth versus United States. Story goes, this sexual deviant named Samuel Roth published this magazine containing literary erotica and pictures of naked women covered in salad dressings. This, understandably, caused a bit of a hullabaloo. I mean, this is the 1950s we're talking about here. People were about as awkward about sexuality as every person who's ever shaken other Griff's hand. I like to personalize every handshake with a little something-something. You have pretty ears. Sammy Blue Cheese Roth said that his freedom of speech allowed him to purvey all the smut that his sick, twisted little mind could think up. And every court that saw his case was so appalled that they just passed him on up the judicial system. And eventually, sorry Supreme Court, we know you're busy doing stuff that matters, but we have this pervert here who not only wants to be a pervert, but he wants to have the constitutional right to be a pervert. Sounds like my kind of guy. One moment, butt kickers. Other Grip, what are you doing here all of a sudden? You're gone for weeks and then you make 2 appearances in a single episode? Oh, well, perversion is kind of my area of expertise. Oh, well, then please, take it from here. Oh, really? I thought I'd just, do what I always do and get in a few cheap laugh one-liners. Well, if you're the expert on the subject, why don't you take the big job? Sit in the hot seat. I can do one-liners. Well, okay. So anyway, the definition of what constitutes obscenity was called into question. Some justices insisted that there are some things within that realm that are too obscene to be constitutional, while others said that everything under the umbrella of obscenity is constitutional. I'd like to give those guys some high fives, or something. The latter guys, the ones who like obscenity. Yeah. Right. So anyway, the justices had to review a whole slew of existing obscene material in order to determine just what kind of obscenity is unconstitutional. They watched snuff films, read smutty literature. They basically had to review almost every obscenity prosecution in the history of the United States. Sounds like my kind of job, right? Because, naked. Dude, I can't do this, man. Coming up with one-liners is hard. You're telling me, especially when I'm the punchline of a long string of commentary. The pressure is outrageous. Look, man, how about we just stick to the jobs with which we're comfortable? How's that sound? Sounds good to me. Alright then. Anyway, they eventually ruled that some obscenity is outright unconstitutional. And this was overturned about 16 years later. And now, pretty much the only illegal obscenities are the kinds that are so obscene that they could strip the varnish off of wood. Ain't America great? It certainly is, OG. It certainly is. Until tomorrow, I'm Griff, and I'm still talking.